Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. It is Boxing Day 2024 and I have to say my Christmas day was an absolute cracker. Everybody else has had a great time at Christmas, found time to relax, to see friends, family, but most importantly for us sim heads, I hope you managed to sneak in a little bit of time to get in on the Le Mans Ultimate daily races or the weekly races, or perhaps you spent the week preparing to get on track for the fixed trophy, multi-class or the Endurance Series Championships. I have to admit, I thought I was going to spend Christmas Day just pounding out the laps, but I was a little bit jaded after all the racing on the weekend, so I only got in about an hour and a half of racing. Only an hour and a half of racing, he says. And it kicked off at the Sakhir Circuit, Bahrain, in the LMGT3 daily races. And I don't know what I was expecting from races on Christmas Eve, you know. I thought perhaps some of them would be a little bit sedate, but oh my god, no. Put together GT3, the short sprint format, and the fact that people probably were just squeezing in a race in the little free time that they had on Christmas Eve. And yeah, we had a brass knuckle duster down in the dirt, aggressive elbows out racing experience. I've touched on the mentality people take to racing in some of my previous videos. One about how you go into multi-class racing if you've never done it before, how you have to think about the different mental states that people are in, whether they're on the aggressive front foot, the defensive looking over their shoulder, whether they're in the slower class, the LMP2 class or the hypercar class, just basically what's going on with people psychologically when they're taken to the track. What I forgot to mention though was what happens when it's not an endurance race, it's a sprint race format. 20 minutes to get your best result in a tight field where ranking and splits have done their job. You're in a field of drivers whose pace and abilities will more closely match your own. And oh my goodness, when that's the case, there is absolutely no quarter given. There is absolutely no opportunity for you to rest on your laurels, because if you leave a gap, people will go for it. Add into that cold tires and turn 1, lap 1 is, well, it's an accident waiting to happen. So is turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 and turn 5 to be honest. But that turn 1, when everyone is barreling in down there, you truly take your race into your own hands if you decide that you're going to go 10 tenths and not give any thought to perhaps caution to survive and live another day. Then I've mentioned it before, but the netcode in Le Mans Ultimate is so good that those shoulder barges, hip checks, or perhaps the little taps in the rear, the chrome domes, don't punt your car off the track or into the stratosphere, as I've said before. It means that you can get up close and personal when racing. Does mean, of course, that someone has to yield at some point, but in Le Mans Ultimate, because the ability to race hard is so good, more often than not, it's a game of chicken and nobody wants to yield. In fact, once somebody gets to the apex, is on their racing line, they're more inclined to just want to put their foot down and just go full throttle out of the apex, forgetting that their car is going to track out and pretty much not caring whether or not it is or isn't going to give them a little bit of side panel action with the car on their left or their right. And in the heat of the action, when the adrenaline is flowing, you're more inclined to think that any contact is the fault of the other driver. This particular race, me and this other red McLaren made contact 7 times. At the time, I'm quite sure that he was of the opinion that every single one of those contacts was my fault. In fact, at the end of the race, there was one passive-aggressive, little cheeky, well done to everybody in the race who managed to make a pass without dive bombing or making contact, which I just know were definitely leveled at me. Maybe it wasn't, but considering I was the only other car on track that was in a knife fight with him, I think it was me. And to be fair, again, lap 1, turn 4, I was so distracted by the BMW behind me to my left in my blind spot that I completely missed my braking point and was in danger of skittling cars as they were turning into the apex. I did manage to get it stopped, managed to get it slowed down, turn in and start to throttle out, but I then, on cold tyres, tracked out into the other McLaren that was on my left. Not this red McLaren, but another McLaren that was on my left. Hy-Vee racing, sorry again. So he definitely was thinking this guy is being uber aggressive, he's dive bombing, he's not in control of his car, and that possibly, in hindsight, set his mental state with, so this is how I need to race this guy moving on through the race. At the time, I obviously thought that I was the most angelic, innocent car on track, so I had no idea why this guy wasn't giving me an inch. In turns where I thought that I had the racing line, I had the apex, I was entitled to put my foot down, he was putting his foot down. And again, at the time, when we were making that body panel to body panel contact, I was thinking, that's definitely on him. I'm quite sure he was thinking, why didn't that Muppet yield? I had the racing line. That was definitely on him. That couldn't have been my fault. All it served to do was just ratchet up the tension, ratchet up the aggression, pumped, fueled on adrenaline. Neither person had any intention of yielding an inch of track space. And in the debrief, once you take time to calm down, the adrenaline stops flowing and you can be a little bit more rational about it, you can pick out the moments where you could have at the time, where I could have at the time, been a little bit more conservative. That doesn't happen at the time. It's what you take into the next race. But what that then does is that then leaves you prone to being passed like a freight train by everybody else who thinks, what's this passive idiot doing on track? Whilst I'm there thinking, I'm going to be really smart, lift a little bit early into that one's turn one so I don't go and skittle everybody on cold tires. They're thinking, opportunity, window open, put your foot in the door. I smell blood in the water because that car on the right is slowing down way before the braking zone. 100% I'm taking that position off him, because in a short sprint race format, you have to make the positions whilst you can. You can't set out to strategically come back in the second, third, fourth quarters of the race like you can in an endurance race. You have 20 minutes, maybe 10, 12, 13 laps at most. You need to take every opportunity that's given to you. So me being more passive, more conservative, not wanting to be that aggressive red mist driver on track means that I'm throwing out signals to everybody else of, past this guy. He's not here for the fight. He wasn't built for this. So again, mentality, psychology. What approach you take into the race? So quickly, I had to do a little bit of a reset, a reboot, and go, no, you need to fight in this. You can drive this car. Again, as I said, Le Mans Ultimate encourages you to drive the cars hard. You can hustle them. You can drive to your limit. And driving to the limit is what everybody else on track seems to think is a prerequisite. Because in the next race, I was driving against this red BMW in front of me, and there's defending and then there's defending. Everybody is fighting for every inch of track. Focus forward on the car and position in front of them, seeing how they can take it, whilst also abjectly refusing to give up any positions that they've earned up until that point. Now, we've all been sim racers for a while, right? Whether it's a week, a month, a year, a decade, doesn't matter. And we've all at some point watched some motor racing on TV and heard all of the ethics and principles around defending, no moving in the braking zone, only moving once. Well, that's Formula One. You then have the touring car approach of, if I don't punt you off the track, I'm not getting through. GT3 is somewhere in the middle, because for some, that don't move in the braking zone or only move once is a rule for Formula One, where they have been pampered and mollycoddled. That's not real racing. For some, real racing is, as long as I don't punt you off and put you into the wall, fair game. In fact, for some, there's a potential that some would say, as long as I didn't intentionally punt you into the wall, if you end up in the wall, well, maybe you should tread more carefully, because I'm fighting for this position. I am not leaving the space. Again, I'm going to laud the Le Mans Ultimate physics again for their ability to allow you to go racing toe to toe. You can at least focus on that racing. You're not focused on trying to drive the car. So in those moments where someone does something you're not expecting, like you try to sell them a dummy, you then move late just as you're about to enter into the braking zone to try and dive down their inside, but they react to your movement late and move their car. In other sims, that's a recipe for disaster, especially if I'm behind the wheel, because I'm going to make a late, erratic readjustment and possibly lose the car. In Le Mans Ultimate, nope. The worst that might happen is you might do a little bit of a front to rear love tap. And that's why I say, for me, the racing that I've had over this Christmas period has been an absolute corker, a proper Christmas cracker. And yes, in the moment, with the heart rate going sky high and the adrenaline flowing, there are moments of frustration, there are moments of anger, there are definitely moments of expletives and turning the air blue. Apologies to anybody I was racing against who sees the stream live and hears me calling them an idiot or, in some cases, a twat. I apologize, but it's racing. The blood is flowing. And again, for those who I have been at fault and have tapped them and not given them enough space, racing hard, I do apologize, but none of it is intentional. And for those who I have thought, what are you doing? I mean, this moment, I almost killed myself because this guy kept moving right. And it was only at the last moment that I realized you are going to drive headlong into the end of the pit wall. But I was so focused on trying to make a move, I did not expect that I was running out of track. But anyway, at this point, you better believe that I was not saying pleasant things about this guy that I was racing. Again, in hindsight, at the end of the race, he's just fighting for position. He's just racing hard. The pace delta between all of the guys that are in this pack racing is tenths of a second. That's opened up ahead of him means there is no chance that in the last 6 minutes of this race he's going to make up another position. So for him, everything is hold on to what I have at all costs. Whereas for me, I'm thinking I'm lapping 1 almost 2 seconds off my pace because I'm stuck behind you. This tenth of a second delta in pace isn't true. You're holding us up. And I've got a guy behind me and a guy behind him who I know in these last 6 minutes are going to take any opportunity to take a position off me. I need to get by you. The racing was explosive. Racing was brutal. It would punish you for the smallest lapse of concentration, the smallest mistake. 1, 2, 3 cars would pass you because, again, sprint racing, LMGT3, it is tight. The packs are bunched together, and once one person sees a gap, they all see a gap. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and let you watch the rest of the highlights of all of the races I did at Bahrain on Christmas Day. If you raced, let me know how you got on. Was it exciting for you? Was it exhilarating? Was it frustrating? Did you too find yourself in some knife fights, or was it nice and sedate? Were you on track with me? If so, did I ruin your race? Did I bump panels with you? If so, how did you feel about it at the time? If you took offense or you were angry at me at the time, I apologize. If you looked at it in hindsight and you thought actually there's a 50-50 here and maybe it was just a case of hard but clean racing, let me know in the comments. If you've watched the action and you're thinking, Mark, what the hell were you doing, you utter muppet? You left a gap there, that was all on you, that's why 2-3 cars came by. Or what were you doing, mate? You were out of control. Let me know in the comments. If you're enjoying the LMGT3s, let me know in the comments. If you don't like the LMGT3s, let me know in the comments. If you're loving Le Mans Ultimate at the moment, let me know in the comments. If you still haven't bought Le Mans Ultimate and you're thinking, I'm not sure, tell me why in the comments. Basically, take the subtle hint. Let me know how your racing experience has been over the Christmas period in Le Mans Ultimate. Every like, comment, share and subscription will be appreciated. I'm going to shut up, let you watch the rest of this. I will see you in the next video. Let's go.
2 minutes to go, 2 minutes. P5. Yellow flag. It looks like Cowell and Senchak have spun off. Sector 1 is green.
Yellow flag.
We think T-Bow has gone off. It looks like Zochling has crashed. Green flag, sector 2. Yellow flag, keep your wits about you, mate. Green flag, sector 3. It looks like Luigi has binned it. flag, caution. Green flag, sector 2. We think O'Connor has binned it. Yellow flag, sector 2. We can see Luigi has crashed. Green flag in sector 2. B6, that's the end of the race. We'll get him next time.